Tao Te Ching, verse number 3. If you've missed the previous verses, I got a playlist, okay, called the Tao Te Ching or Daoism, something. So you could go, because we're breaking down every verse. And to be honest, these videos are becoming my favorite videos to do, the ones that have to do with the Tao Te Ching. And paradoxically, they're the videos that I make that get the least amount of views from the pre-existing subscribers. Because let me tell you something about the Tao Te Ching. This is as close as you're gonna get to truth. This is as close as you're gonna get to non-dual awareness, non-dual oneness, and true enlightenment as you're gonna get in a small book, okay, summarized in a philosophy. And to be honest, most people are not prepared to hear it, let alone embody it. See, I'm ready to hear it, that's why I break it down. I'm not ready yet to embody it, but at least I'm ready enough to hear it and share it. And you guys who turn up to these videos are also ready, and you're a minority even within the subscribers. You're ready to hear this. This is really high level shit, okay? So let's go on with verse number 3. Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu, Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Verse 3. Putting a value on status will cause people to compete. Hoarding treasure will turn them into thieves. Showing off possessions will disturb their daily lives. Thus, the sage rules by stilling minds and opening hearts, by filling bellies and strengthening bones. He shows people how to be simple and live without desires, to be content and not look for other ways. With the people so pure, who could trick them? What clever ideas could lead them astray? What action is pure and selfless? When action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place. And I'd like to go over that line a little bit later. Let's take the first part of the verse and I'll make a commentary on it as it comes. Putting a value on status will cause people to compete. So let's take a look at our world right now. And pretty quickly, you'll see that the reason why we're running down the planet, this beautiful, magnificent planet, is because of competition. Because we have all these companies competing with one another. Who's going to make more money? Who's going to have more access to these resources? As above, so below. If our institutions are competing with one another, that means us human beings on a smaller level, the smaller institution, because you can think of yourself as an institution. I mean, you've got gut bacteria in there. You know, you've got more bacteria cells than human cells. You're an institution, okay? So if the bigger institutions, which are just a reflection of the smaller institutions, are always competing with one another, we can see countries competing with one another, companies, corporations, religions, you name it. So then the smaller institutions competing with itself. I mean, we're competing with ourselves. We're always trying to prove ourselves to ourselves, which is really absurd. And we're competing with other institutions, human beings as well. So this constant competition, Lao Tzu tells us, putting a value on status will cause people to compete. So we've basically created a completely artificial standard, and that became status. And because now we've created this completely artificial standard, artificial value, status. So if somebody has $1 million, they have status automatically because we've created it. See, it's artificial. These are artificial boundaries, artificial things created by the mind. So if you have $1 million, I mean, it's just paper now. It's like digital. It's not even paper anymore. It's not even tangible anymore nowadays. But it's still value. We all agreed upon it that this will mean you're valuable in society, and because of it, now we have people competing. Putting value on status will cause people to compete. So if we want to get rid of the competition that is driving us down the drain, because we're driving the planet down the drain, so we're driving ourselves down the drain. We've got to stop putting value on things. We've got to stop valuing things and see that all things are both worthless and invaluable at the same time. Okay, it is absolutely worthless to be a human being, and yet it is invaluable. Try and live with that paradox. Try and explain that paradox to the average Joe. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Why do you think these videos about the Tao Te Ching get the least amount of viewership? Because not many people want to entertain these paradoxes. Plain and simple. Okay, it's too out there. It's too far out. Hoarding treasure will turn them into thieves. So the reason why we have thieves is because we value things. We put value on things. And so that creates its polar opposite. Okay? Thieves exist because there are people who are extremely rich. Okay? Thieves exist because of the polar opposite of thieves. Because somebody is hoarding treasure. Plain and simple. Okay? We'll turn them into thieves. Hoarding treasure will turn them into thieves. Okay? It's like, again, this is the day creating the night and the night creating the day. You see, this is the thieves creating the rich people creating the thieves. Showing off possessions will disturb their daily lives. Thus the sage rules by stilling minds and opening hearts, by filling bellies and strengthening bones. He shows people how to be simple and live without desires. To be content and not look for other ways. Contentment. Contentment is the enemy of society, by the way. Society as we know it and as it exists at the moment could not exist in a world that is vibrating with the vibration of contentment. It just can't even exist, because if you look at society, if you look at the social institutions and the social structure, is fueled by people's dissatisfaction. Their dissatisfaction with their house, their dissatisfaction with their material possessions, their dissatisfaction with their partner, their dissatisfaction with their health. That's another thing. What do you think is running the pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry? It's people's dissatisfaction with their health because they're not content with simple things. Because if people were content with simple things, their health would be good and they would be content with their health. That wouldn't create the pharmaceuticals. That wouldn't create the healthcare industry. We wouldn't have all these institutions in place, profiting, making money. All of society is run by people's discontent, dissatisfaction. And I don't know where it starts and where it finishes, but it runs through the fabric of society. People are discontent with everything. They're discontent with their house. They're discontent with their car. They're discontent all across the board. You see? And so then we have society to address the discontentment. Of course, this discontentment runs deeper than a simple superficial pill or car, or a bigger house or anything like that. The discontentment is it's an existential discontentment. It's a discontentment with what is, with the void within, with the light within, with the nothingness. It's an existential discontentment. So it sort of projects itself on the material plane. That's truth. So the Thus the sage rules by stilling minds and opening hearts. That's the sage. The sage is the master, the could be the king. You know, you hear some stories about the sage kings. Those are kings that were in harmony with the Tao, in harmony with the flow of the universe, with the way things are. And of course, our leaders, our political leaders, are just a manifestation, a projection of us as a society. So they're discontent and they're fighting amongst each other. They're competing with one another. They're greedy. They want more money, more power. Yeah, if you haven't noticed, the vibrational frequency, the state of awareness and consciousness of humanity is very low at the moment. The Hindus are absolutely right when they say we live in the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga is the age of darkness. It couldn't get much darker than this. It really couldn't. It really couldn't. So, with the people so pure, who could trick them? What clever ideas could lead them astray? When action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place. So, what's an example of that? What's an example of when action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place? Nature, just as it is, without human manipulation, without human intervention. Nature is so pure and it's perfect. Everything in nature falls into its own place. It's only man's interference with things, manipulating things, creates the disbalance, the disharmony with the Tao, with the way, with nature. This is why Taoists, hardcore Taoists, spend their time in nature, because they learn from nature, they observe nature, they align themselves with nature. And nature, everything is perfect. Every storm is perfect. Every rainstorm, every snowstorm, every sunny day is perfect. Every snowy day is perfect. Every ecological disaster is perfect. Every earthquake is perfect. Every squirrel is perfect. I'm seeing those those rascals just they're like the jokers of nature. They're perfect, just doing their squirrel thing. But of course, then if humans are part of nature and all of this is just nature, and if humans are part of nature and they're manipulating nature, then that must mean that's also perfect. Then that must mean all this bullshit that humans are doing to nature is also perfect. If you zoom out so far outside of it, then it's all perfect. And despite it looking like it's not in harmony with the Tao, it indeed, from a bigger picture, is in harmony with the Tao. That could be a possibility. Okay, that could be a possibility. I could see the perfection of it being humans are imperfect and so impure in their actions that they've come to realize that if they let nature do its thing, it'll be perfect. So the perfection is that that nature created these very impure, imperfect things called human beings, and they've messed around with the harmony of the Tao so much that it led them to disaster, that they realized, let's leave the Tao as it is to do its perfect thing. So that's the perfection of it. So it's still an imperfect act. All this totally impure and manipulated things humans are doing to nature is still an imperfect thing. But from the greater picture, it is perfect because we're realizing that this constant manipulation of nature, of the Tao, interfering with the harmony of the Tao, is actually completely stupid and pointless, and we shouldn't have done that in the first place. That's the perfection of it, you see? So when action is pure and selfless, everything settles into its own perfect place. So you could see the illusion of society. You could see that it's being run by discontentment. It really is being run by discontentment, by living against the harmony of the Tao, against the harmony of things as they are. So that was another nugget of wisdom from this great book, the Tao Te Ching. Like I said, this is really as close as you're gonna get to truth. Really, pick up a copy of this book. Watch these videos. Go on the playlist and watch them. If you've missed some of the verses, watch them. I'm gonna rewatch every single video that I made because I make them and then they go in my memory somewhere. When you teach something, you have the highest retention rate. Nevertheless, I'm going to go through all of these videos and watch myself talk about these things. See, a lot of my actions in these videos are also pure and selfless. What do I mean by pure and selfless? It doesn't mean I'm doing it to help you. It doesn't mean I'm doing it to help anything or because I'm a compassionate being. It just means I'm doing it because that's what the Tao is doing through me. That's what being selfless is. Being selfless is nothing to do with being compassionate, with helping. Although it can. If the helping action is coming purely out of just the spur of the moment because it is what it is, not because you're trying to help, then that's the pure and selfless action. It could, but it does not equate. Okay? So that's where I'll finish off the video. I'd like to thank the beautiful, lovely patrons for sponsoring this cup of peppermint tea, which is warming me up. I just took a cold shower. So thank you guys. I love you. And if you would like to contribute to this channel in any way, something as little as $2 a month, it'll help. Anything will help. If you'd like to help, right, then you could join us in the Patreon family member and you get access to the great wise sage Said. So you could actually talk to me if you want. We can have a video chat. So other than that, God bless you all, guys, and until next time, may the Tao be with you.